The street woke early, as it always did. Vendors rolled out their carts before sunrise, the smell of frying dough and strong tea drifting through the narrow lanes. Among them was an old man everyone simply called Baba. He pushed a modest cart selling roasted corn and peanuts. His hands steady, his movements quiet and practiced. Baba never argued over prices. He never raised his voice. When customers insulted him, he would just smile and lower his head. To most people, he was invisible, just another poor street vendor struggling to survive. That morning, a group of young men arrived in expensive cars, music thumping, their laughter sharp and careless. They wore designer jackets and the kind of confidence that came from money and boredom. One of them kicked Baba's cart lightly with his shoe. "Hey, old man," he sneered. "You're blocking the road." Baba calmly moved his cart a few inches. "Sorry, son," he said softly. The apology only encouraged them. Another boy grabbed a handful of peanuts without paying. "What are you going to do about it?" He laughed. "Call the police?" The others burst out laughing. Someone knocked over a small bag of corn, and the kernels spilled onto the dusty road. Baba bent down and began picking them up, one by one. "Look at him," one of them mocked. Still crawling on the ground at this age. People nearby watched but said nothing. They had learned long ago that trouble was contagious. It was better to just look away. What no one noticed were Baba's eyes. They were calm, alert, measuring the distance, the numbers, the exits. It was a habit he had never lost. Because once, long ago, Baba had been Colonel Amir Rahman, commander of one of the country's most secretive special operations units. Before the gray beard, before the cart, before the silence. Years earlier, Colonel Rahman had led missions deep behind enemy lines. He had trained men half his age to stay calm under fire, to think when fear tried to take control. He had carried wounded soldiers on his back through gunfire and had buried friends with his own hands. But when his wife died, and later his only son in a roadside bombing, something inside him went quiet. After he retired, the medals felt heavy and hollow. He gave them away to a museum and chose a life where no one saluted him, where no one expected anything from him. A life where he could just be Baba. The bullying continued. One of the boys shoved Baba's shoulder. "Move faster, old man." That's when a black SUV slowly pulled up nearby. Two uniformed officers stepped out, scanning the area. They weren't there for Baba. They were escorting a senior military official visiting the district. The boy stiffened but tried to act casual. One officer's eyes landed on Baba. He froze. It was his posture, the way he stood relaxed but perfectly balanced. The unmistakable stillness of someone trained for combat. The officer walked closer, studying the old man's face. Then his eyes widened. "Sir?" he whispered, almost afraid to be wrong. Baba looked up. The officer snapped to attention. "Colonel Rahman?" he said, loud enough for everyone to hear. The street fell silent. The young man laughed nervously. "Colonel? Him?" The second officer hurried over. He looked once at Baba's face and immediately saluted. "Sir," he said firmly. "It's an honor." Baba sighed, a tired smile crossing his face. "At ease," he said gently. "I'm just selling peanuts now." But the damage was done. The military official stepped out of the SUV, confused by the sudden scene. When he saw Baba, his expression changed instantly. "My God," he said, walking forward. "That's Colonel Amir Rahman. He led Black Falcon Unit." Whispers spread like wildfire. "Black Falcon? That's the unit from the border war. They say he never lost a single mission." The boys' faces drained of color. One of them stammered, We didn't know." Baba looked at the spilled corn, then at the young men. His voice was calm, not angry. "You didn't need to know who I was," he said. "You just needed to know I was human." The official turned sharply toward the boys. "Do you have any idea who you disrespected? This man saved hundreds of lives. He trained the officers who now protect this city." The boys lowered their heads, shame replacing their arrogance. One of them quickly pulled out money, trying to hand it to Baba. "Please, take this." "We're sorry." Baba gently pushed his hand away. "I don't want your money," he said. "I want you to remember this moment. Power is temporary. Respect should not be." The officers helped Baba set his cart upright. Someone brought him a chair. People who had ignored him minutes earlier now watched with awe. As the convoy prepared to leave, the senior official asked quietly, "Sir, why didn't you ever tell anyone who you were?" Baba looked at the street, the noise, the dust, the ordinary life moving around him. "Because," he said softly, A man's worth should not depend on his past rank, only on how he treats others today. The SUV drove away. The officers saluted one last time. Baba returned to his cart, roasting peanuts as if nothing had happened. But the street would never see him the same way again. And the boys who once bullied a quiet vendor walked away carrying a lesson heavier than any punishment. True strength doesn't shout. Sometimes it sells peanuts in silence. Thanks for watching. If this story moved you, please like and subscribe for more content that makes you think. See you next time.